Welcome. There is nothing you need to do right now. No effort, no rushing. Only this quiet moment and the calm space around you. Take a slow breath in and let it fall out gently. Your shoulders soften. Your hands rest. The day can fade away now, like candlelight dimming at night. And tonight, we enter a story that feels warm, quiet, and safe. A story of a castle, hidden far beyond the village, where time moves slowly, and everything is wrapped in stillness. This is the story of Beauty and the Beast, told softly, like a bedtime dream. Long ago, in a peaceful countryside, there was a small town. Not loud, not busy, just calm. Stone roads, warm windows, soft evening air. And in this town lived a young woman named Belle. She was gentle by nature, quiet in her movements, thoughtful in her words. She loved calm things, books, stories, the feeling of imagination drifting like mist. Belle often walked through the village in the late afternoon, when the sunlight turned golden and the world began to slow. She would pause near small shops, near gardens, near quiet places where nothing hurried. And always, she carried a sense of softness with her, as if she belonged more to peaceful stories than to noise. Beyond the town, far past the hills, there was a forest, deep, still, ancient. And beyond that forest, hidden beneath tall trees, stood a castle, a great stone castle, covered in ivy, resting quietly beneath the sky. Most villagers never spoke of it. It felt distant, unreal, like a place from another time. But the castle was there, waiting, silent, filled with candlelit halls and echoing rooms, and a strange kind of loneliness. Inside lived someone forgotten by the world. A beast, not loud, not cruel, but burdened, resting behind stone walls, surrounded by quiet. And though the story carries mystery, tonight it will carry only calm, only warmth, only rest. The castle is not frightening. It is cozy. It is still. It is filled with the softness of flickering candlelight and the sound of distant bells, moving gently through the night. And as Belle's journey begins, your mind can begin to drift, breathing slow, awareness soft, the world outside fading away. The story is here now, like a warm blanket, like a quiet fire, like a peaceful castle at night. And we begin, slowly, gently, with the first steps toward the forest. The days in the village continued quietly. Belle's life was simple, gentle, filled with small routines and peaceful moments. Her father, an older merchant, was kind and thoughtful, but the world had been difficult for him. Trades were not as easy as they once were. Journeys were longer. Roads were quieter. And one morning, he prepared to travel beyond the town, hoping to find a better future. The sky was pale, the air cool, the village still half asleep. Belle stood at the doorway, holding her shawl close. She spoke softly. "Be careful," she whispered. Her father smiled warmly. "I will return soon," he promised. His voice was calm, reassuring. And then he left, moving slowly down the road until the village disappeared behind him. The path beyond the town was peaceful at first. Rolling hills, quiet fields, soft wind moving through grass. The world felt wide, still, unhurried. But as the day continued, the road began to change. Trees grew taller. The air grew cooler. The forest approached. Not frightening, only deep, ancient, silent. The merchant's horse walked steadily, one slow step at a time. Evening arrived gradually. The sunlight dimmed. Shadows softened across the ground. And soon, snow began to fall. Not harshly, only gently. Small, quiet flakes drifting down, like feathers. The forest became even more silent, the road less clear. Branches curved overhead, forming a kind of natural archway. The merchant breathed slowly, watching the world turn white and calm. He was not rushing, only moving forward, hoping to find shelter before night grew too deep. The snow continued. The forest seemed endless. And then, through the drifting mist, something appeared. A shape, far ahead, a silhouette rising beyond the trees. Tall stone towers, covered in ivy and snow, resting quietly beneath the darkening sky. A castle, hidden, still, unmoving. The merchant slowed. He had never seen it before. No village had spoken of it. It felt like a place forgotten by time. But the lights inside glowed warmly. Faint, golden windows shining through the snow. The merchant guided his horse closer. The castle gates stood open, not welcoming with words, only open, as though waiting. He stepped inside carefully. The courtyard was silent. Snow lay softly on stone. No voices, no footsteps. Only the sound of his breathing and the slow creak of the gate behind him. He knocked once, then again. No answer. The castle remained still, and yet the warmth of candlelight flickered somewhere within. The merchant pushed open the heavy door and entered. Inside, the air was warmer. The halls were wide, filled with shadows and soft light. Candles burned as if someone had lit them recently. The place did not feel alive, but it did not feel empty either. It felt paused, like a dream holding its breath. The merchant stepped forward slowly, seeking only shelter, seeking only rest, not knowing that the castle was listening, not knowing that his arrival was the beginning of Belle's journey into a story of warmth and quiet transformation. The merchant moved slowly through the castle halls. Candles flickered softly along the walls, casting warm light across stone floors. The air was quiet, still, almost peaceful. It was strange. The castle felt ancient, yet not abandoned, as if someone had been there, not long ago, and then disappeared into silence. The merchant found a large room with a fireplace. The flames were already burning gently. He sat down, relieved. Snow melted from his coat. His breathing slowed. For a moment, he felt safe. He thought perhaps the castle was simply empty, a forgotten place offering shelter. But then, a sound appeared. Not loud, not violent, only a deep stillness shifting. A presence. The merchant lifted his head. The shadows at the edge of the room moved softly. And then, from the darkness, someone stepped forward. Tall, broad, wrapped in heavy cloak. Not rushing, not sudden, only quiet, like a figure emerging from a dream. The merchant froze. His heart beat once, heavier. The candles flickered. And in the warm light, the shape became clear. It was a beast. Not a creature of chaos, but of loneliness. His face was strange, both animal and human. His eyes dark and tired. He did not roar. He did not leap. He simply stood, silent, watching. The merchant could not speak. The beast's voice finally came, low, steady, filled with quiet weight. "Who are you?" he asked softly. "And why have you entered my home?" The merchant swallowed. His voice trembled slightly. "I was lost in the snow," he said. "I meant no harm. I only needed shelter." The beast's gaze remained fixed. Not cruel, only guarded. "This castle is not a place for strangers," he murmured. The air felt colder for a moment, not from anger, but from sorrow. The merchant lowered his eyes. "I did not know," he whispered. The beast stepped closer, slowly, his footsteps heavy but controlled. "Then you must leave," he said. "But the forest at night is not kind." The merchant's breath caught. Outside, snow still fell quietly. He could not survive without help. The beast watched him for a long moment. Then, in a voice softer than before, he spoke again. "You may stay. For tonight." The merchant looked up, surprised. The beast continued. "But in the morning, you will go, and you will never return." The merchant nodded quickly. "Yes," he whispered. "Yes, of course." The night passed in silence. The merchant slept near the fire. The beast disappeared into the shadows. Morning arrived, pale and quiet. The merchant rose carefully. Before leaving, he noticed a garden beyond the hall. Winter roses still bloomed there, soft red against the snow. He thought of Belle, his gentle daughter, and without thinking, he picked a single rose, a simple gift, a small beauty in the cold. But the moment he turned, the air changed again. The beast stood behind him, his eyes dark, his voice low. "You have taken something from my home," he said. The merchant froze. "It is only a flower," he whispered. "For my daughter." The beast's expression tightened. "It is not only a flower," he said softly. "It is a promise broken." The merchant trembled. "Please," he said. "I did not mean—" The beast raised one hand. Silence returned. Then he spoke, slowly, with quiet certainty. "You may leave," he said, "but you must return, with one of your daughters, in your place." The words hung in the air, heavy, yet calm. The merchant felt the world tilt. He could not imagine such a thing. But the beast's eyes were steady, not hateful, only bound by something unseen. The merchant nodded weakly. He took the rose, and he left the castle, carrying the warmth of candlelight behind him and the beginning of Belle's journey ahead. The merchant returned home slowly. The village appeared again through the fading snow. Warm windows, quiet streets, familiar stone paths. Belle heard the door open and rushed forward. "Father," she whispered, her voice full of care. He looked tired, his face pale from cold and worry. And in his hands, he carried a single rose. Belle's eyes softened. "A rose," she said quietly. "It is beautiful." But her father's expression remained heavy. The warmth of home could not erase what had happened. They sat together near the fire. The merchant told her everything, slowly, carefully, as though the story was too strange to speak aloud. The castle hidden in the forest, the beast, the bargain, the promise. Belle listened in silence. Her hands rested calmly in her lap, but her heart grew still. When her father finished, the room was quiet. Only the crackling fire, only breathing. Belle spoke softly. "You must not go back," she said. Her father lowered his eyes. "I have no choice. he whispered. "It is my fault. I took the rose." Belle's gaze lifted, gentle, steady, unafraid. "No," she said. "You will not return alone." Her father shook his head. "Belle," the word was filled with sorrow, but Belle's voice remained calm. "I will go," she whispered. "I will take your place." The air seemed to pause. Her father stood quickly. "No," he said. "I cannot allow it." Belle stepped closer, her face soft but certain. "You gave me your kindness," she said. "You gave me love. How could I let you suffer for me?" Tears filled the merchant's eyes. He wanted to protest, but Belle's decision was like quiet light, unmoving. And so, before the next day faded, Belle prepared, not with fear, not with drama, only calm purpose. She wrapped a cloak around her shoulders. She held the rose gently, like the last warmth of home. Her father's horse waited outside. The road to the forest was long, silent, covered in soft winter mist. Belle rode slowly beside her father. The village disappeared behind them. The hills grew distant. The trees appeared again, tall, still, ancient. The forest was quiet, not frightening, only deep. Snow fell lightly through branches. The air smelled clean, cold, peaceful. Belle's breath rose softly in the air. She did not speak much. Her thoughts were calm. She did not know what awaited her, but her heart remained gentle. After a long journey, the castle appeared again. Stone towers rising through mist. Warm candlelight glowing faintly behind windows. The gate stood open, silent, waiting. Belle stepped down from the horse. Her father trembled. "Belle," he whispered. She placed her hand on his arm. "It will be all right," she said softly. Then, she walked forward, slowly, quietly, into the castle. The great doors opened. The warm air surrounded her. Candles flickered along endless halls. The castle was strange, but not cruel. It felt lonely, paused, as though it had been asleep for years. Belle's footsteps echoed gently, and from the shadows, the beast appeared, tall, silent, his eyes dark but tired. "You have returned," he said, his voice low. Belle lifted her chin calmly. "I have come," she whispered, "in place of my father." The beast watched her for a long moment. Then, very quietly, he nodded. "So be it," he said. The castle breathed in silence. The bargain was complete, and Belle's new life, inside the cozy candlelit halls, had begun. The castle grew still again after Belle entered. The great doors closed softly behind her. The sound echoed for a moment, then faded into silence. Warm candlelight lined the walls. Shadows rested in corners. The air smelled faintly of stone and old wood, and winter outside. Belle stood quietly, breathing slowly. Everything felt unreal, but not dangerous, only unfamiliar. The beast remained nearby for a moment. His voice was low. "You will have a room," he said. "You will be cared for." His words were firm, but not cruel. Belle nodded gently. "I ask only that my father be allowed to leave safely," she whispered. The beast paused. Then, with quiet reluctance, he nodded. "He will go," he said. Belle felt her shoulders soften. The beast turned away and disappeared into the dim halls, as though he did not know how to remain near her. Belle was left alone. The castle was silent, and yet it did not feel empty. Candles flickered as if the castle itself was awake. A soft voice spoke suddenly. Not loud, not frightening, only gentle. "This way, miss." Belle turned. On a nearby table stood a small candlestick, its flames glowing warmly, and beside it, a clock. Both seemed alive. Their voices were calm, their movements small and careful. Belle blinked slowly, as if she were dreaming, but the castle remained peaceful. The candlestick guided her through the hallways. The floors were smooth stone. Tapestries hung quietly on the walls. Each room felt like a memory from another time. A dining hall, long and still. A music room, untouched. A staircase winding upward into silence. Belle walked slowly, listening to the gentle echoes of her own steps. Outside, snow continued to fall. Inside, warmth remained steady. The castle felt like winter wrapped around candlelight. And then, she saw a door. Large, carved with delicate patterns. The candlestick paused. "Perhaps you would like this," it whispered. Belle pushed the door open slowly, and her breath softened. Inside was a library, a vast room filled with shelves reaching high into shadow. Thousands of books rested quietly, their spines worn, their pages aged. The scent of paper and time filled the air. Belle stepped inside, as though entering a sacred place. Her fingers brushed gently along the books. Stories, poems, worlds waiting in silence. For the first time since arriving, Belle felt something like comfort. The castle was strange, but here, among books, it felt familiar. Safe. She walked between the shelves slowly. Candles glowed softly in golden pools of light. Outside, the night deepened. Inside, the library held warmth. Belle selected a book at random and sat down in a quiet chair near the fireplace. The flames crackled gently. The pages turned softly beneath her fingers. And for a moment, the castle no longer felt like a prison. It felt like a place asleep, waiting for kindness, waiting for warmth. Belle read quietly, breathing slow, surrounded by candlelight and stories. And somewhere, deep within the castle, the beast listened in silence, not knowing why her presence felt like a small light in the middle of his long night. Night settled fully around the castle. Outside, snow continued to fall softly, covering the forest in silence. Inside, the halls glowed with warm candlelight. Belle remained in the library for a long time, reading quietly, breathing slowly, letting the calm of pages soothe her mind. Eventually, the candlestick returned. Its flame flickered gently. "Miss Belle," it whispered, "it is time for dinner." Belle closed her book softly. "I am not hungry," she said quietly. The candlestick hesitated. "The master wishes it," it replied. Belle stood slowly. The castle was still unfamiliar. She followed the candlelight through the corridors, past tall windows showing only darkness and snow. The dining hall was large and quiet. A long table rested beneath chandeliers. Candles burned steadily. Plates were prepared with care. The room smelled warm, like baked bread and herbs. Belle sat down gently. For a moment, she was alone. Then, a heavy footstep echoed from the shadows. The beast entered. Tall, broad, his presence filling the space, but his eyes looked tired, uncertain, as though he did not know where to place himself. Belle remained calm. She lowered her gaze politely. The beast spoke, his voice deep. "You came," he said. Belle nodded softly. "The castle is quiet," she replied. The beast paused. He seemed surprised by her gentle tone. He sat at the far end of the table, keeping distance. Candles flickered between them like a soft barrier. For a while, there was only silence. The quiet sound of utensils, the slow crackle of fire. Belle ate slowly. The beast watched. Not with anger, but with something like curiosity. Finally, he spoke again. "Do you like books?" Belle lifted her eyes slightly. "Yes," she whispered. "I have always loved them." The beast's gaze lowered. "There are many in the library," he said. Belle's voice softened. "It is the most beautiful room I have ever seen." The beast remained still. Something changed in his expression. A flicker of pride, perhaps, or relief, as though her words had touched something gentle inside him. He cleared his throat. His voice became awkward, almost uncertain. "I thought you would be afraid," he murmured. Belle paused, then answered honestly, softly. "I was afraid at first, but the castle feels more lonely and cruel." The beast's eyes darkened. Lonely. The word hung quietly in the air. He looked away. The firelight caught the edge of his face, softening the sharpness. Dinner continued, slow, peaceful. No loud conversation, just small moments. Two souls sharing a candlelit room, separated by distance, yet connected by quiet understanding. When the meal ended, Belle stood gently. "Thank you," she said. The beast blinked, surprised again. No one had thanked him in a long time. He nodded once, almost stiffly. "You may go," he said quietly. Belle walked away through the halls, guided again by warm candlelight. And behind her, the beast remained at the table, silent, feeling something unfamiliar. Not anger, not sorrow, but the beginning of change. Slow, like snow melting at dawn. The castle grew quieter as the night deepened. Snow continued falling outside, softly, covering the world in silence. Inside, the corridors were warm with candlelight. But still, Belle was shown to her room. A quiet chamber with heavy curtains. A fireplace, glowing, gently. Soft blankets folded neatly on the bed. The air smelled of wood smoke and old stone. Belle stepped inside slowly. For the first time since leaving the village, she allowed herself to breathe deeply. The room was safe, warm, still. She sat beside the fire and listened. No voices, no hurry, only the gentle crackle of flame. She thought of her father. She hoped he was home. She held the rose in her mind, a symbol of something strange and tender. Belle opened a book and read quietly, letting the words soften her thoughts. Outside, the forest slept beneath snow. Inside, the castle rested like a dream. Somewhere far away, a bell chimed faintly, very distant, almost imaginary. Belle's eyelids grew heavy. She closed the book gently. She lay down beneath the blankets, warm and still, breathing slow, her mind drifting, and sleep began to arrive, softly, without effort. In another part of the castle, the beast remained awake. He walked through long halls alone. His footsteps echoed quietly, then faded. He passed empty rooms, silent staircases, tapestries hanging unmoving in candlelight. The castle had been his home for so long, yet it had never felt alive. Only waiting, only quiet. He paused near a window. Outside, the snow made everything gentle. The world looked peaceful, almost forgiving. The beast's breath fogged the glass. He thought of Belle, her calm voice, her kindness, the way she had looked at him, not with hatred, but with understanding. He did not know what to do with that. Loneliness had been his companion for years, and now something else had entered the castle. Something warm, something human. He moved toward the library. The room glowed softly. Books rested in endless stillness, and he imagined Belle there, finding comfort among the shelves. A strange feeling stirred inside him. Not pain, not anger, only the quiet beginning of hope. The beast sat down by the fire. He listened to the silence, to the slow rhythm of the castle at rest. For the first time, the emptiness did not feel complete, because somewhere above, Belle was sleeping peacefully, and the castle, once frozen in loneliness, held two quiet hearts beneath its roof, two separate dreams, moving slowly towards something gentle. The night continued. Candle flames dimmed. Snow fell endlessly, and everything drifted deeper into stillness, into rest, into calm. Morning arrived slowly at the castle, not with noise, but with pale winter light. Snow rested on every branch outside. The forest was silent. The sky was soft and gray. Inside, the castle remained warm. Candles still glowed faintly from the night before. Belle woke gently beneath heavy blankets, her breathing slow, her mind quiet. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she remembered. The castle. The beast. The strange dream of it all. She sat up slowly and looked toward the window. Snow was falling again, lightly, like feathers. It was peaceful. Belle dressed warmly and stepped into the hallway. The castle was quiet, but not empty. As she walked, she began to notice the gentle life within it. A teapot humming softly. A wardrobe speaking in a calm voice. A feather duster floating carefully through the air. They moved as though they had waited a long time, for someone kind. "Good morning, Miss Belle," they whispered. Belle smiled softly. "Good morning," she replied. Their voices carried warmth, not loud, only welcoming. They guided her toward breakfast. The dining hall was filled with soft golden light, warm bread, steaming tea, quiet comfort. Belle sat and ate slowly. Outside, snow continued. Inside, warmth remained steady. After breakfast, Belle asked gently, "May I walk outside for a moment?" The enchanted servants hesitated. "The master may not approve," one whispered. But Belle's voice was calm. "I will be careful," she promised. And so, wrapped in her cloak, Belle stepped into the courtyard. Cold air touched her cheeks softly. Snow crunched beneath her boots. The castle rose behind her, tall, silent, mysterious. The forest stretched ahead, white, still, peaceful. Belle walked slowly along the snowy path. Her breath rose in small clouds. Everything felt quiet enough to belong to sleep. The world was softened by winter. She reached a small garden where roses still bloomed, red against the snow. She paused. Her thoughts drifted. She thought of her father again, wondering if he was safe. Her heart felt tender. And then, a sound behind her. Heavy footsteps, but slow. Belle turned. The beast stood at the edge of the courtyard. He did not rush forward. He only watched. His voice was low. "You should not wander far," he said. Belle nodded gently. "The snow is peaceful," she whispered. The beast hesitated. Then, awkwardly, he stepped closer. Not too close, keeping distance. He looked toward the garden. "The castle is cold," he murmured. Belle answered softly, It feels warmer than it seems." The beast blinked, as if he did not understand warmth anymore. For a moment, they stood together in silence, snow falling around them. Two quiet figures beneath a gray sky. The beast finally spoke, again, quieter. "If you wish," he said slowly, "the library is yours." Belle's eyes softened. "Thank you," she whispered. The beast nodded once, then turned away. But something remained in the air. Not fear, not anger, only the slow beginning of trust. Like winter melting into spring. Belle watched him disappear back into the castle, and she felt that perhaps this place was not meant only for loneliness. Perhaps it was meant for change. Soft, gentle, patient. And the story continued. The days in the castle began to move slowly, one gentle morning after another. Nothing rushed, nothing demanded. Belle spent time in the library, reading beside the fire. She walked through candlelit halls, listening to the soft voices of the enchanted castle. And little by little, the beast became less distant. Not suddenly, not dramatically, only softly, like snow melting without sound. Sometimes he would speak to her at dinner. A few words, awkward but sincere. Sometimes he would simply sit across the room, silent, not wanting to frighten her. Belle began to understand that beneath his rough shape, there was loneliness, not cruelty, not hatred, only a heart that had been closed for too long. And the beast began to feel something unfamiliar. Not anger, not bitterness, but warmth. The strange comfort of kindness returned. One evening, as candlelight flickered gently, Belle looked around the great hall. The castle no longer felt like a prison. It felt like a home waking slowly from a long winter. The fire crackled softly. Outside, snow fell in silence. And inside, two quiet souls shared the same warmth. The beast spoke softly. "I never learned how to be gentle," he admitted. Belle's voice was calm. "You are learning," she whispered. The beast lowered his gaze. No one had ever spoken to him like that. The castle seemed to breathe, as if it too was listening. And in that moment, the story was no longer about fear. It was about softness, about patience, about quiet change. Belle realized that sometimes a castle is not a place of monsters, but a place of sadness, waiting for light. And the beast realized that sometimes kindness is the strongest magic of all. The night continued, slow, warm, safe. And now, the story can fade gently, like candlelight dimming at the end of evening. There's nothing more you need to follow, nothing more you need to hold. Only rest, only the quiet rhythm of breathing, in and out. The snowy forest outside is still. The castle is calm. The fire glows softly. And you may drift slowly, peacefully, into your own deep sleep. Good night.